The chair where he used to sit every morning was still pulled out from the table. Iris Calloway noticed it before she noticed anything else. Not the cold coffee she'd made for herself. Not the silence that had settled into every corner of the house. Just that chair, slightly crooked, like someone had stood up in a hurry and never came back to push it in. She stood in the kitchen doorway for a long moment, her robe pulled tight around her chest, and tried to remember the last time Philip had actually sat in it for breakfast. Really sat, not just passed through, keys already in hand, eyes already somewhere else. She couldn't. Iris Calloway had met Philip Hart at a company retreat in Scottsdale 9 years ago. She was 31 and freshly promoted to senior auditor at Meridian Financial Group. He was charming in the particular way that men in sales always are, confident without effort, funny without trying too hard. He'd brought her a drink she hadn't asked for and said, "I figured you looked like someone who could use a reason to stop working for 5 minutes." She'd laughed. That was the beginning of it. They married 2 years later, a small ceremony in Savannah, her hometown. Her mother cried. His mother gave a toast that lasted 12 minutes and mentioned Philip's college lacrosse career 4 times. The first years were good, not perfect, but good in the way that matters. They built a life. She kept her job at Meridian. He moved up at Dalton Consultants, eventually becoming VP of Business Development. They bought a house in Brookhaven, a suburb just north of Atlanta, with a kitchen that had more counter space than either of them knew what to do with. And then, somewhere around year 5, the distance started. It came in quietly, the way most things do. Later nights. Business trips that seemed to multiply. A second phone she wasn't supposed to notice but did. She told herself it was pressure at work. She told herself a lot of things. The morning everything changed began like every other morning had for the past year and a half. Iris woke up at 5:47 a.m. to an empty bed. That wasn't unusual. Philip often left early. What was unusual was the sound, or rather the absence of it. No shower running, no cabinet doors in the kitchen, no low murmur of him on a call in the garage. Just silence. She went downstairs. His car was gone. His gym bag, which had been sitting by the door the night before, was gone. His travel coffee mug, the insulated one she'd given him 2 Christmases ago, was still in the drying rack. He'd left without his coffee. She thought that was strange, and then she stopped thinking about it at all, because she found the piece of paper on the kitchen island. It wasn't a letter, not really. More like a list. The house goes on the market next month. The joint account has been separated. Talk to your bank. I've retained counsel. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. No greeting, no signature. Just those 4 sentences, printed in his handwriting on a piece of Meridian notepad paper. Her company's paper, she realized. He must have taken it from her home office. Iris read it 3 times. Then she set it down very carefully, as if it might break, and she stood there in her kitchen, in her robe, with the refrigerator humming and the morning light going gray through the blinds, and she waited to feel something. What she felt eventually was not what she expected. She felt tired, not heartbroken, not shocked, just an enormous bone-deep exhaustion, like she'd been holding her breath for years and had finally stopped. She called her sister June first. June lived 40 minutes away in Decatur, had 2 kids under the age of 7, and had been saying something is wrong with that man for approximately 4 years. She picked up on the second ring. "He left a note," Iris said. There was a pause. "A note on the kitchen island, printed, like a memo." Another pause, longer this time. "I'm coming over." "Okay." June arrived in 35 minutes with coffee and a look on her face that was trying very hard not to say "I told you so." She sat across from her sister at the kitchen table and read the note twice. "He already has a lawyer," she said. "That's what it says. That means he's been planning this." Iris wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. "I know. For a while. I know, June." Her sister set the note down and looked at her. "Are you okay?" "I don't know yet." That was the honest answer. She didn't know yet. What she did know, what she had known for longer than she'd admitted to anyone, including herself, was that Philip hadn't left because the marriage had failed. He'd left because he'd already replaced it. She had suspected it for the better part of 2 years. She had chosen not to look directly at it, the way you don't look directly at the sun even when you know it's there. But she had looked at other things, the names she'd found. The first time, was on a hotel reward statement that had come to the house by mistake. His primary account was paperless. This one, an older account, still sent physical mail. The statement showed 3 nights at a Marriott in Charlotte, 2 months prior, a business trip she'd known about. What she hadn't known was the upgrade to a suite. Philip was famously cheap about hotel rooms. He always booked the standard rate and complained about it. A suite. She hadn't said anything. She'd taken a photograph of the statement and put the original back in the pile of mail on the counter, and she'd told herself she was being paranoid. She told herself that for another week before she stopped believing it. After that, she started paying attention differently, not in a dramatic way, not the way women did in movies, following cars and rifling through pockets. Iris was a senior auditor. She knew how to read patterns. She knew how to find discrepancies in places people thought no one was looking. She brought those skills home, quietly, over the course of 18 months, and she built a file. The woman's name was Audra Finch. Iris found this out through a combination of things. A contact name in a calendar app Philip had left open on the shared iPad, a LinkedIn profile that matched the initials on the calendar entry, and eventually a conversation she'd had with a paralegal friend who had helped her confirm, without any drama, that Philip and a woman named Audra Finch had been seen together at a fundraiser in Buckhead. The same fundraiser Philip had told Iris he was attending with clients. Audra was 34. She worked in marketing at a tech firm in Midtown. Her LinkedIn photo showed a woman with the kind of confident smile that came from never having been wrong about herself. Iris did not spiral when she found this out. She made a note in her file and kept going. What the note on the kitchen island didn't mention, what Philip apparently assumed she didn't know, was that he had already begun moving money. Not fast enough to trigger automatic alerts at the bank. Slowly, incrementally over the course of 7 months. Small transfers to an account she wasn't on, just under the reporting thresholds. She had found this in February, 3 months before the note appeared. She had taken screenshots of everything accessible to her, printed statements she was legally entitled to request, and had quietly transferred a portion of her own salary, her earnings, into a separate account in her name only. She had also called a divorce attorney. Her name was Constance Rowe, a partner at Rowe & Bellamy, based in Buckhead. She had a quiet office and a direct manner and had told Iris, at their first meeting in March, "He has a plan. So do we. Don't let him know that yet." Iris had not let him know. June stayed until noon. She helped Iris eat something, toast, mostly, and didn't push her to talk when she didn't want to. That was the thing about June. She knew when to sit and when to speak, and most people in Iris's life had never learned the difference. After her sister left, Iris sat at the kitchen table with her laptop and sent one email to Constance Rowe's office with the subject line, "He left this morning." Then she closed the laptop and went upstairs and made the bed with the crisp, precise movements of someone who needed something to be orderly. She showered, she dressed. She drove to the Meridian offices, where she had been senior auditor for 6 years, and she sat down at her desk and worked until 6 p.m. She did not cry until she was home, and then she cried for exactly 1 hour, and then she stopped. The following weeks moved strangely. Philip's attorney sent a formal separation notice. Among the proposed terms, the house would be sold and proceeds split. Joint assets divided 50-50. No spousal support requested or offered. His attorney framed it all in the kind of clean, businesslike language that was meant to communicate. "This is simple. Let's not make it complicated." Constance Rowe read through everything and called Iris from her cell phone on a Tuesday evening. "He wants this fast," Constance said. "I know. Fast benefits him. He thinks you don't know about the transfers." "I know that too." There was a brief pause on the line. "Iris, I want to be direct with you. You've done very good work putting this together. The documentation you gave me is solid. But I need you to understand, when we bring this into court, it is going to get uncomfortable." He will push back. His attorney will make arguments about your mental state, your stability, whatever they can find. Are you prepared for that? Iris looked out the window at the backyard. The lawn needed mowing. Philip had always handled the lawn, and she realized she didn't know where he kept the key to the shed. "I'm prepared," she said. What she had not told anyone, not even June, not yet, was the conversation she'd had with Audra Finch. It had not been planned. It was not something she'd sought out. 3 weeks after the note on the island, Iris had been leaving her gym on a Thursday morning when a woman she recognized from a LinkedIn photo had been standing near the parking structure exit. Audra Finch had recognized her too. That was clear from the way her face changed. For a moment they'd simply looked at each other in that flat morning light, and Iris had waited to feel rage and had felt something quieter and stranger, a kind of recognition, not sympathy, but recognition. The look of a woman who had also been told things that turned out not to be true. "I didn't know he was married," Audra said. Her voice was careful. "Not at first." Iris didn't respond immediately. She had learned, from years of conducting audits, that silence was often more effective than questions. "By the time I did," Audra continued, "it was—" "I know that's not an excuse." "No," Iris said. "It isn't." She walked to her car. She sat in it for a while, without driving anywhere. She thought about what Audra's face had looked like. Not triumphant, not guilty, just tired. And she filed that information away too. The hearing was set for the second week of June. In the weeks before it, Philip's attorney attempted 3 separate settlement overtures, each one slightly more generous than the last, which told Constance everything she needed to know about what Philip was afraid of. The final offer included a cash settlement, the house in full, and a request that both parties agree not to discuss the financial discrepancies in any public proceeding. "He wants a gag clause," Constance said. "No," Iris said. "He's scared." "Good." The morning of the hearing, Iris wore a navy blazer and flat shoes and ate half a bagel at 7 a.m. and thought about the kitchen chair. She had not pushed it in. She wasn't sure why. The courtroom was smaller than she'd expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights. The judge, Honorable Teresa Mohan, had short gray hair and the manner of someone who had heard every variation of every story and was not interested in performance. Philip sat across the aisle with his attorney. He looked thinner. He did not look at her. Constance presented the financial documentation methodically and without drama. The transfers, the timeline, the discrepancies between Philip's disclosed assets and the records Iris had compiled. His attorney objected several times. Judge Mohan sustained 2 of them and overruled the rest. At one point, Philip's attorney argued that Iris had obtained certain financial records improperly. Constance had anticipated this. "These records," she said, "were obtained from accounts held jointly in both parties' names, or from Miss Hart's sole accounts. Every document in this file was legally accessible to my client. What's interesting is that opposing counsel is very concerned about how she found this information, and not at all concerned about why it was being hidden." Judge Mohan did not react visibly, but she made a note. The ruling came down 14 days later. Iris was at her desk at Meridian when Constance called. She picked up after 1 ring. "Equitable distribution," Constance said. "The court found evidence of financial concealment and ordered that the transferred funds be returned to the marital estate before division. You keep 60% of the net assets given the disparity in disclosure. He pays your legal fees." Iris set down her pen. "The house," she said, "yours if you want it. At current appraisal, minus his buyout, which he funds from his portion of the estate." Outside her office window, Atlanta's midday traffic moved in its slow, ordinary way. Someone down the hall was laughing at something. "Okay," she said. "Iris." Constance's voice shifted slightly. "You did well. This doesn't happen the way it did unless you'd been paying attention for a long time." "I was. I know." She drove home through afternoon traffic that was already thickening on 2 and 85. She took the long way, past the park near the elementary school, where she'd once imagined, briefly, that they might send children, and she let herself feel the full weight of it. Not the victory, exactly. The loss. The 9 years. The Scottsdale retreat, and the ceremony in Savannah and the kitchen, with too much counter space, and the chair that was still pulled out from the table. She let herself grieve it. She had earned that right. June came for dinner that evening. She brought wine and a rotisserie chicken and did not ask Iris how she was feeling until they had eaten, and the dishes were cleared, and they were sitting on the back porch, with the evening coming down slow and warm over the neighborhood. "How are you feeling?" June said. Iris thought about it genuinely, the way she'd been trying to think about everything these days, without the armor of practicality, without the reflex to minimize. "Like something that was over is finally finished," she said. June nodded. She understood the difference. They stayed on the porch until the fireflies came out, an early season, warm year. And Iris watched them blink on and off in the dark yard and did not think about the future or the past. Just that yard. Just that night. Just the quiet that had settled back into the house and become, very slowly, something that felt like hers. The next morning, Iris went downstairs, made coffee, and stood in the kitchen doorway, the same way she had on the morning she'd found the note. The chair was still pulled out from the table. She walked over to it, set her hand on the back, and pushed it in. Then she sat down in her own chair and drank her coffee while the morning light moved through the blinds. And she was, for the first time in a very long time, exactly where she was supposed to be.